We have some very exciting news that I can't wait to share with you. Welcome to the Front Garden Farm. My name's Hannah. Get ready to see some very cute pictures because this week we got some new kittens. They've been with us for about 5 days now and are settling in really well. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to chat to you about what to expect when you bring home a new kitten or new kittens. Our family's nearly always had cats, with the exception of a few years break here and there in between, as cats have passed away before we get new ones in again. But we're definitely cat people. We really love having cats around. So I thought I'd share some information about kittens and what to expect with new kittens for those who are perhaps thinking about getting cats and haven't had them before. If you're not thinking about getting cats but you want to see some really cute pictures of our kittens, stay tuned because there'll be lots of footage of our new cats in this video for you to enjoy. So let me introduce you to our very cute little cats. We have 2 male cats. They're just moggies, mixed breed cats. And the ginger one is called Tommy and the grey tabby one is called Timmy. And they're very playful and have been giving us a lot of laughs and a lot of entertainment watching them play with each other. One thing to consider if you are thinking about getting more than one cat is that animals do change when they reach maturity, and there is a risk that they could start fighting and not getting along with each other. So one way we're going to hopefully avoid that problem is by getting them neutered as soon as we are able to do that when they're old enough, because if we can get them neutered before they go through maturity, there's more of a chance that they will get along and not fight. The other consideration is that as they get older they can become quite territorial. But we do have quite a large house, so if that does happen, then we are able to, well, they'll have enough space, they'll be able to find their own territory and kind of keep out of each other's way, and we'll just be able to feed them separately and let them have their separate spaces. So if you are going to get more than one cat, it is just worth thinking about a contingency plan, just in the unlikely event that they may end up not getting along as they get older. What would you do? Have you got enough space to accommodate more than one cat in that event? But I think getting more than one cat is really helpful in the kitten stage because they settle very easily. It's obviously quite an upheaval for cats. Cats don't like change very much, so coming to a new place for them with new people is quite unsettling for them. And Tommy and Timmy have settled in pretty quickly, and I think it helps that they've had each other to comfort each other and to play with each other, and they've got that familiarity of having that sibling that's helped them to settle quite fast. So when we first brought these cats home, we did make the mistake of giving them too much space, and Tommy ran straight upstairs, whizzed around all the bedrooms, and then found himself in an office and hid behind a desk. And we had to move the desk to be able to catch him and get him back out again. So my number one recommendation if you're bringing home new kittens is to choose a room in your house where you can confine the cats to for the first few days while they settle in and get used to the place. Cats absolutely love to hide, and especially when they're feeling quite frightened because they're in a new environment. So have a look at anywhere in your room that you've chosen where cats might be able to get in and hide. So we've had to block up a hole in our fireplace to make sure that they're not able to get access to that, because it would be very difficult to get them out of there, also very difficult to clean if they made a mess. They're currently in our living room, and they like to hide under the sofa, and they also like to hide behind the bookshelf, but both of those places we don't mind them going, it's not a problem. And they do come out for food, so we don't have an issue with that. But just think about places that they might be able to get access to where you wouldn't want them going, or where it would be very difficult to catch them and get them out of if you needed to. Bearing in mind that kittens are very, very small and they can squeeze into the most remarkably small spaces. Kittens are also very playful, which makes for lots of fun watching them. But they also love to climb. So thinking about things like curtains, they love to climb curtains, climb up furniture, and it's just deciding how you manage that. We left our curtains open for the first few days because discourage them from climbing up. It wasn't quite so attractive to them if the curtains were open. And for us, we've chosen not to worry too much about them climbing up the furniture. But obviously, if you've got furniture that you really don't want to get ruined, then perhaps think about moving it out into a different room or managing that in some way so that the cats don't have access to furniture that you would be upset if it got scratched. So our cats were quite timid when we brought them home, which is understandable for being moved into a new place. But they've adapted really quickly, and they're now coming out to us. When we come into the room, they like to run over to us and say hello, which is really, really nice to see that in just 1 week. For them to become bold and friendly like that's been fantastic. And the ginger one's more outgoing than his brother. The ginger one's already wanting to come and sit on our lap and kind of cuddle with us a little bit, although he is so playful. It's very funny to see because he'll come and sit with us, and then if Timmy starts playing with something, he just can't resist and has to go and join in. He can't miss a play time for anything. So my tips for helping to get a kitten to be more friendly. Well, first of all, when you're choosing which cat to bring home, look at the environment that they were raised in. Our cats are used to being around children, and they've been in a family home, so they're used to being handled and being around the family all the time, which is really helpful, because if they've had that foundation and they've been handled a lot in those first 8 weeks or more before they come home to you, that's a really good start. It's much easier to have a friendly cat if they've been handled really well when they were really tiny. But then bringing them home, create a calm and quiet environment for them. I know that can be quite challenging when you've got new cats and it's all very exciting, especially if you've got kids in the house. But we encouraged our children to sit down on the floor with a toy. Our cats particularly love a toy on the end of a string, and they wave that about, and the cats just can't resist, and they eventually came out and wanted to play. And just we've spent lots and lots of time with them, playing with them, and they really enjoy that. We also have just been picking them up regularly. They don't particularly like it at first. They tend to protest a little bit, but regularly handling them gets them used to being handled and is really important. And one technique that we've used to encourage them to enjoy being handled is to actually use, I don't quite know what they're called, but they're like little licky sticks. They've got some pureed food inside, and the cats can lick them straight out of the packet. So once a day we'll have a cat each on our laps and allow them to eat that food while they're on our laps. And that just shows them that being cuddled, being handled, results in really great stuff like great food happening. So they really enjoy that. And another thing that we're doing to help condition them, because we've got quite a large house, so once we let them out of the living room, it's going to be difficult to find them probably, because they will find some nice places to go and hide. So we want them to be confident and comfortable around us, but we also want them to come when they're called. So what we've been doing is each time we feed them, we've been calling them and then give them their food. And they're getting used to that already. So now when we call them, they'll come out of wherever they're hiding in the lounge and rush over to their food bowls. And that's hopefully going to help. So when they're let out into the larger area of the house, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to get them back again by calling them for their dinner. It's good to get kittens used to new experiences as well. So obviously the first few days you want to keep it nice and calm and quiet because they've already had a huge adjustment. But then you want to start introducing them to new people. So we've had some friends around this week, and it's been a great opportunity for the kittens to meet lots of other children and other people as well, to help them become nice and confident. Also things like using the Hoover. I mean, cats make a mess, it has to be cleaned up, but don't be afraid to use the Hoover and use any other household appliances and things that you would normally be using that are perhaps a little bit noisy, because it's good for them to get used to those things. So one question that you might have if you're bringing home a new kitten is that about litter training. Now, most cats are already going to be litter trained when you bring them home, which is really, really helpful. Usually they learn from their mums and they will just copy, so they should have got the hang of it already. But obviously they've got to relearn that in a new environment. They've got to know where their litter tray is in their new environment. So there are a few things that you can do to help with that. The biggest thing is if you're able to use the same litter that the previous owner was using, that helps them to identify it so they understand what the litter tray is in your new place. And then we moved the litter tray once the cats had settled in a little bit, and we saw the area of the room that they liked to kind of congregate towards and kind of made it their den and their space. We actually moved the litter tray over to that area so that they could find it easily. And they've done really well so far. We've only had one accident on the first day when one of the cats was obviously quite nervous and didn't really know where the tray was yet. But they've been absolutely fine ever since, and we haven't really had to do any work on litter training at all, which has been fantastic. We've bought a hooded litter tray, and it has a sort of a cat flap door almost to get into it. So while the kittens are very small, we're actually leaving the door up because they're finding it a little bit difficult to use that door at the moment. But they don't have any trouble getting into a full-size litter tray. So litter training kittens is very easy, especially compared to bringing home a puppy of the same age. Puppies are a lot more work, but kittens are relatively very easy with the litter training because they've already been trained by mum. And it's usually quite an easy transition for them. And if you're starting off using the litter that the previous owners used, you can then, if you want to change what you're using, start mixing them together gradually and cutting down on the original litter and building up the amount of the litter that you want to be using until you've completely transitioned over. The same goes with food. It's very helpful if the person that you're buying your cats off of, or the person you're adopting your cats from, is able to give you some changeover food, and again gradually mix those together, changing the quantity up over time slowly so that they're eventually on the food that you want to be feeding them. So I hope that's given you a bit more of an idea of what it's like to bring home new kittens. So thanks for joining me. It was great to be able to introduce our new arrivals to you, and I look forward to sharing a little bit more about cats in some future videos.